Welcome Average Joe Nation from around the globe. Props to you for staying up to date and keeping in the know. Fantasy football, man, very soon you'll reign. The knowledge that these three guys have, man, it is insane. Fantasy football talk, hateful eight, they wear the crown. Hold it down, Pickle, Blackburn, and Trimboli, hold it down. Pulling up to LB Design Studio, we're getting loud. Season 2, headphones on, red light go, break it down.
Welcome back to the Hateful Eight Fantasy Football Podcast with your host, I'm Pickle, and as we spoke on the last show, Blackburn's going to be out for the week.
Yep.
Salute you.
Get well soon, buddy.
Get well soon. But also, Trimboli is here. So
What it do?
So we're still good. It's not a one-man band. At least I've got a...
It's a 1.5 band.
one and a half man band.
I'm like that lame wing.
the wingman, but not a good one.
No.
All right, this episode we discuss the Week 12 games and get you guys ready and get your lineups ready, more importantly. As always, don't forget the show's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts. Now onto the Week 12, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I missed it.
Weekly starts and sits, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Oh, I hope our listeners appreciate
Missed it by that much.
appreciate my random missing of the button. So, the good, the bad, and the ugly, presented by Stat Route. Dominate your league. Get the stats used by the pros. Any stat, any player, any team, available in under 5 seconds. Head over to statroute.com. Use promo code HATEFUL for 25% off your subscription. All right, I had the early games in this one. So, yeah, I believe so, right? Is that right?
No.
Did you have the early games?
I think I got the early games.
All right, well, go for it. Whatever you got, man.
Well, I guess I'm going to go.
Go for it.
I got Cleveland at Cincinnati.
Oh, this should be a great game.
Yeah. So if you're playing Cincinnati, you should know that you should play the running back for the opposing team. So my good is Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
Bengals rank dead last. They are what Blackburn would coin as hot garbage, allowing 34 points. You can play them both. Heck, you could play the third string running back in this game. All going to give you valuable
You can play
points.
the guy in the front row who may
Yeah.
actually get a chance.
So, yeah, definitely, though. Nick Chubb, he's coming into his own right now. I think Cleveland's going to rely on him heavily. So
Most definitely.
play him in every league, any format. My bad in this is Uzama or Uzama. We ever figure out which one it is yet?
Uzoma, I think is what they call him.
Okay. With AJ going down, I really thought he'd see more targets. Everything I thought would be an uptick for him. It
Right.
hasn't happened. The connection with him and Dalton just isn't there. It's going to Bernard and Ross.
Right.
That's who's seeing the uptick in all the targets. And to be honest with you, the Cincinnati's offense is kind of like stalemate right now with no AJ.
Right. And there's talks of him. He's a game time decision, basically. Now,
I
he
s-
was a game time decision last week, supposedly,
Yeah,
too.
I still think it's just mind games they're trying to play. I don't think he'll suit up this week.
I don't think so either,
So.
but we'll see.
Right. And then my ugly is it's real ugly, but it's going to be Baker Mayfield. You know, if you own Goff, Mahomes, Mariota,
Yeah.
you know, you're not going to play any of those guys this week. I mean, you can play Mariota if you want to, but I wouldn't.
No.
But anyways, if you need a replacement, Mayfield's the guy. Again, the Bengals are terrible against the quarterback. They're allowing 20 points a game to him. Mayfield's a great streaming option this week.
Most definitely. I was going to say myself and a guy on Twitter, Ben Glazer, shout
Yeah.
out to him, he started his little tweet about Baker Mayfield. And surprisingly enough, I told him, I said, let's see how many Baker gifts we could throw back and forth. We're like on day 4, and we have not repeated one. I'm just going to tell you right now, shout out to whoever is continually creating these random gifts of Baker Mayfield, because we're like 4 days in and have not repeated one.
I'm not going to lie to you. I tried to keep up with that. It was just too much.
So anyways,
I should have just thrown in a random different person just to throw this whole thing for a loop.
throwing Hugh Jackson.
Wow.
Anyway,
Bengals hat now.
it would have been relevant anyway.
Yeah.
So
Ooh.
go for
Love
it. So that was the good and the
Yeah,
bad.
so my good is Chubb, bad is Uzama, ugly is Mayfield.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, Mayfield, this might be the week that you feel pretty comfortable playing against that Bengals defense, unfortunately.
It's terrible right now, so. All right, moving on. We got Jacksonville at Buffalo. Man, this game's going to be awesome.
Right?
Two terrible the over-under is 37.5. They basically think no one's going to score.
Or they're just going to score like maybe a couple field goals, maybe one
Right.
touchdown.
So, in this game, my good, and he's the only player I feel comfortable playing, is Fournette.
Yeah.
Actually, outside of Fournette, I'd play maybe both defenses.
Yeah.
So really, I have 3 good for you then.
There you go.
Fournette, the defenses. So Buffalo's defense is terrible against the run. They're averaging they're 24th in the league, averaging 27 points. Fournette's a great play.
I would say the Buffalo's strength is the pass defense,
Right,
and the rush.
yeah.
So makes sense.
But that Blake Bortles is not much to speak of. So
No,
Right.
no.
So really, I guess my bad here. I put is LaShawn McCoy, but I could have put any receiving option for Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, LaShawn McCoy, I'm not gonna play him against this Jacksonville defense. They're still pretty stout against the run. I mean, they shut down James Conner last week.
Right.
LaShawn McCoy is not who I want to play this week.
No, I mean I know it sounds bad because I mean he had the real good game a couple weeks ago, and now you're
Showed
like,
a little
oh,
life.
You're like, oh great, now I can play him this week. Don't make that knee jerk reaction. Be like, oh, I can start him this week. Don't do that to yourself.
He might
please.
have enough volume in like a PPR standard to get you double-digit points,
especially like garbage type
right.
stuff.
I just
but
don't see that big play there. I don't see. Be honest with you, I don't even know if I see a touchdown this week.
Yeah, it could be bad.
So, and then my ugly is Zay Jones. Barkley ended up finding Jones. He's a great flex option. He has 18 receptions on 25 targets over the last 3 games. He's kind of slowly becoming that number 1 wide receiver in Buffalo, if there is such a thing.
I say his competition is Kelvin Benjamin, who has Booger McFarland described as one Popeye's biscuit away from being a lineman. So
yes.
It is what it is. Speaking of which, Popeyes is not a bad place to go eat if you got one close to you. Anyways,
no, not at all.
So the good, the bad, and the ugly. I mean,
it's all bad.
I mean, there should be asterisks next to the good in this game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only good because that he's like the best player on the field.
Well, it's I hate to say it. It's because if I told you those 2 teams, Fournette's probably the only one you can name.
Right, outside of like LaShawn McCoy, maybe.
Yeah.
You're like, who's the quarterback even for Buffalo right now?
Right, so it's terrible. But moving on, New England at the Jets. This game is a little more interesting to me. I think the good here is going to be both Josh Gordon and Julian Edelman.
Yeah.
Jets defense is giving up 41 points for wide receiver. Gronk is not being Gronk.
No, Gronk, like we talked about, I mean, a couple weeks ago, Blackburn made the joke about calling him Robo Gronk.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much what he looks like out there.
Right, and by the way, that meme was great. Oh my gosh, it was perfect.
The guy that sent that out there on Twitter, that was perfect.
Yes, that was awesome.
So
anyways, with Gronk's targets not going into him, I see him being spread out to Edelman and Gordon.
Yeah. I mean, I think the run game's going to potentially factor into this one as well.
Right. And just to classify this, I hate pushing everyone together, but the Jets' offense is my bad. They have scored 1 touchdown over the last 2 games.
Oh, man. Shocking.
That is terrible.
that is actually really bad.
How about that? The quarterback has combined for 6 interceptions during that span, and no running back has eclipsed 50 yards.
Yeah, you remember when everybody, not us, mind you, we've not been on that hype train. Everyone, I would say, a lot of people outside of this room,
right,
have made the comment that he's the MVP, the Rookie of the Year, and he's so great, and this is why. And see, the Giants missed out. I don't know if I feel like Sam Darnold's doing what Sam Darnold did last year. Specifically, we talked about it against Ohio State when he had real pressure against him, his decision making. Now, I mean, early on the year, I think he looked good. He looked all right, but I think there wasn't a whole lot of film on him. Once the film started rolling in, and teams were able to pick up his tendencies, what he looks at, how he looks at the receiver, looks him down, and stuff like that. And I think defenses got smart, and they figured out pretty quickly how he is and how he operates. And since then, like you said, 1 touchdown for that offense.
Yeah. And listen, I know that Rosen and Mayfield don't exactly play for winning teams right now, but they're still playing. They're still very reliable to their teams. That shows why they were the better picks.
Yeah, Mayfield came out of left field. Everyone thought it was a joke when they heard that he was going to be the number 1 overall pick. But I will tell you, quarterback-wise, he's actually looked pretty decently. And I know maybe people are like, oh, well, he's got the best offense out of all these guys. Well, yeah, but he's had like one of the worst coaching staff.
Right.
Let's be honest. That front group, Hugh Jackson and them, horrible. So
just terrible. So, and then my ugly. He's only my ugly because he's not been himself lately. Is Tom Brady.
Yeah.
He's only thrown 1 passing touchdown in the last 3 games. 2 of the 3 games he has scored less than 15 fantasy points.
As I say, do you think it's because of the Gronkless offense, or do you think it's because now they have some? That maybe the age is finally catching up to him, or do you think that it's the culmination that it's just not fun anymore, maybe, or
I
what?
think it's a little bit of everything, but I think Gronk not being there, that's why the touchdown numbers are down.
I think so too. I think he creates enough of a mismatch that it opens up other people, if
Right.
nothing else.
Right. And then with Rex Burkhead due to come back, I think next week.
I've heard he's doing the next week or two.
Yeah. I mean,
He's been practicing on and off, but there's not been a green light given.
right. If he comes back, you might see more carries out of the backfield now and less throws from Tom Brady. So, but I still think this week against the Jets, I mean, since I love Gordon and Edelman, obviously it's going to fall back because Brady's going to throw the ball. So,
Right. Most definitely.
but that's all I got. So Gordon, Jets offense, and Tom Brady. Just the whole offense.
Offense in general. Sounds great.
All right, the last game I got is the Giants at Philadelphia.
Yeah, the playing for the bottom of the NFC East here.
Can't believe it either out of Philadelphia.
No, how the mighty have fallen. The Super Bowl hangover. I don't think it's a hangover, honestly. I know they use that cliche, a Super Bowl hangover. I truly believe it's injuries.
Yeah.
They've had injuries across the offensive line. The defense hasn't been as gotten hurt. I mean, how many corners are they? They're like on their third or fourth corner at this point. I mean, Jalen Mills was not playing. Their second corner wasn't playing against Dallas as
They
well.
said this week they're going to start 4 corners that were not there at the beginning of the year.
Well, and then what's his face? One of their 2 corners got hurt. I mean, their other best corner got hurt in the Dallas game, and then last week the other guy got hurt. It's just, I'm just saying, it's just one thing after another. It just seems.
And it doesn't
injury-wise.
help when Carson Wentz's performance last week. Oh,
I am so sorry.
0.84.
Horrible. I mean, Big Ben looked pretty bad through like 3/4 of the game, but he came back and ended up getting you some serious points.
You know you get a point for just writing your name down, right?
Right.
Jeez. Come on, Carson.
I mean, you literally get a point for just standing there. Couldn't even do that right this week. But you could tell the frustration on the sideline. And I think a lot of it, I know that people are saying, oh, well, it's because of injuries on defense. All of it. I think the key is the injury to Jay Ajayi. I know as weird as that sounds, once Jay Ajayi got hurt and was out, the offense started slowly dropping. And it was every week they take a step back, take a step back, take a step back. And now the defense is getting hurt, which takes that whole team backwards. But
They definitely, when they get behind, they're beating themselves up.
yeah, unfortunately.
So, but my good in this is actually the running back for Philadelphia. I like Josh Adams.
Yeah, he's the bright light of that group.
He's seen the bulk of the carries recently, and his role in the passing game is definitely defined. He's not just the runner. So, in a PPR format, you got to love that. And he has a favorable matchup against the Giants, who rank in the bottom half against the running backs. So.
Most definitely, I agree with you.
Yep. Moving on is my bad is Evan Ingram. You know, he had a decent game last week, but when your quarterback's only going to throw the ball 18 times in a game, all your wideouts are going to see a little bit of a dip. Then you got to go against Philadelphia, who is tough against the tight end, and they've only let up 2 touchdowns to the tight end this whole year. So
Right. Well, they're still healthy across the board at the linebacker position. Of course, that's the one spot that they're actually healthiest against.
So, but I mean, I just don't get how Eli Manning can look great. I know. Listen, he was 17 of 18, but it was all dump down. It was all check downs.
Well, yeah, it makes it easy when you're throwing 3-yard passes here and there.
So, until you move the ball downfield, Evan Ingram's not going to open up to be a viable option.
Right. I mean, it's Barkley, and then it's Odell, and then it's Shepard, and then it's
Even Shepard took a dip because of it.
Yeah. So.
But my ugly is Golden Tate. I think this is the week he puts it all together. We see the numbers that we saw in Detroit. Everything has been increasing slowly, and it's kind of like the Cooper effect. We think, Blackburn talked about last week or last show that he thought this is the week that Cooper is going to have his game. I think this is going to be Golden Tate's game. He's who I'm looking for to be a shining star here in Philadelphia.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this is finally the game that they get it all together, and they just take the gloves off, as they say, and they just open it up because they have to at this point.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's too good for the numbers he's been putting up with them recently.
Right. You didn't make a move for Golden Tate middle of the way through the season to just let him be a 3 to 4 yard or 3 to 4 reception a game guy.
Right.
So. Anyways, was that all of the?
That's it.
All right. So my games, which were the middle of the Sunday games, Oakland at Baltimore. The good in this one, I got Gus Edwards. Now, to me, you got Oakland is giving up 17.5. No, he had 17.5 points against the Bengals. He saw 62% of the snaps and 62% of the rushing attempts. Oakland's 24th against running backs. They're giving up 21.5 points. So
it's just crazy. He was a practice player.
I mean, let's be honest, Alex Smith got you a touchdown.
Yeah.
But that was it.
Yeah.
And then it was like, see you later, Alex. Thanks for your
You mean
contributions.
Alex Collins?
Yeah, Alex Collins.
No,
Your
yeah.
contributions for the week. You got a touchdown. I mean, I know that a couple people, when they saw the Alex Collins touchdown, they immediately tweet out, yes, this is Alex Collins' week, followed by, well, this tweet didn't age well. So, just saying.
That's good.
But Gus Edwards, I mean, like I said, 62% of the snaps, and he saw 68% of the rush attempts, got you 17.5 fantasy points. Now, I know the Bengals are horrible, like literally worst
Right.
of the worst, but Oakland's not much better. They're 24th versus 32nd, so it's not much of a gap, and they're giving up 21.5. I just think Gus Edwards coming off of the hot hand. I think with Lamar Jackson being the quarterback there in Baltimore, I think they're going to run the ball a lot more,
Right.
and they're going to keep it simple. So, but the bad in this one, the Oakland running backs. Baltimore's number 1 against running backs, giving up this is only a combined across all running backs that they've played against, 11.8 fantasy points. And an offense that's not really got an identity in the run game, you're not wanting to go with either one of these guys.
It's bad when Rashard is who you want to play.
Right. But I'm just saying, they've got Doug Martin playing, they got Rashard playing. I'm just saying, and the Baltimore defense is only giving up 11.8.
Yeah.
So just as a sneaky start, also, Baltimore's defense.
Definitely.
I think this is a game that they can easily be viable, getting you potentially close to double digits, if not over.
Right.
So the ugly in this one for me, John Brown. And I know Lamar Jackson doesn't throw the ball a bunch, but to me, when they get in these third downs, they're going to potentially could. I'm not saying that Oakland's defense is good by any means, because as John Gruden, he's still out there searching for a pass rusher. But
Yeah, you should look into Chicago.
right, I think there's a guy there that did that. But to me, eventually they're going to throw the ball. They can't. I mean, they can, but I think that this week against the type of defense that Oakland is, I think they can throw and run on these guys. And Oakland is 27th against wide receivers, giving up 27.7 fantasy points. I just think that John Brown could be that one. I mean, it might be a 50-yard touchdown pass, and that's it.
Well,
and then it's fine. You're good for the day.
And that's what I was going to say. If you're going to play a wideout for Baltimore with Lamar Jackson at quarterback, why not play the guy that's going to have the big play capability?
The home run threat.
Right.
So, I mean, I just don't see him checking down to Michael
Right.
Crabtree a bunch. The tight end's also a pretty decent one. Mark Andrews played really well with Lamar Jackson, and that's a comfort blanket. But I just think if you're looking for something and you're right on that cusp of that fantasy playoffs push, and he's sitting on your bench and you're looking at matchups, he's got a really good matchup. And this might be, like you said, this might be the game that he gets a 50-yard touchdown, potentially. He's a high upside guy. It's a touchdown yardage upside, high risk, high reward.
Yeah.
So it's how comfortable you feel.
Now to go back on your good play here.
Yeah.
I want everyone to know I totally agree with Gus Edwards. Now, he could also lay an egg. It's Baltimore. They don't know what they want to do half the time in the backfield. I still think Gus Edwards is the way to play this week. I think he's got RB2 potential, especially with Lamar Jackson. But he could also be the Alex Collins of last week.
Right.
He gets it initially, and then you don't see him.
Now, to me, Gus Edwards, if you've got a bunch of guys who are playing the 1 o'clock game, like a lot of your roster, and you're going to the 4 o'clock game, and you've got between two 4 o'clock game guys in the flex spot, I would look to see who your other flex position guy is potentially, and how many points you're looking at versus your opponent, and how much. If he's done at 1 o'clock and you're down by 5 or 6, then hey, play maybe Gus Edwards to get you that 6 or 7 points for sure. I mean, the floor that you're looking at with him potentially.
Exactly.
Because if he gets one touchdown, you win.
Right.
Game, set, match. But if you're going into the 4 o'clock games and your guys still got 2-3 guys going to that Sunday night game or Monday night game that we're going to talk about, it depends on who the other options are. I might be kind of hesitant, but to me, he's a flex play this week.
Right. It's just, and to be honest with you, it's just because it's Baltimore. It's the Baltimore effect.
Right. So we'll see. But now the Seattle at Carolina game, the good in this one, Nick Van Att. Carolina is the worst. I repeat, the worst versus tight ends, giving up 12.4 fantasy points. Horrible. Nick Van Att seems to be the guy that he looks to in the end zone when it's not either Lockett or Baldwin, who's recently got involved.
He came back to life.
Right. He showed back up. So, but in this one, for me, the bad, Devin Funchess. He's the number 1 wide receiver in that offense. Now, I might play DJ Moore with an upside potential if I'm in a pinch, but Seattle's 7th against wide receivers. They're not the Legion of Boom, but they're not too shabby either.
They've been pretty stout all year.
Right. So, and they're giving up 21 fantasy points total to the wide receiver position. And you got Funchess, you got DJ Moore. I'm just saying there's options out there. But
you know what's crazy? When you hear that number, I always think, man, it's a big number.
Right.
But I know that the guys that are the worst against the wide receiver are letting up like 40 a game.
right. Yeah, that's not good. So, I don't know, man. I have a hard time because Funchess has seen volume, but it's just not fantasy relevant volume. Like it's a lot of like 2 yards, 3 yards. Yeah, if he was getting like Saquon Barkley targets
Right.
where it was like he's getting 10 receptions a game for like 10 yards, that's fine because now that's 10 points. But the problem is he's seeing like 2 to 3 receptions for like maybe 20 yards. And you're like hoping for a touchdown.
Newton's kind of falling back to his old ways with Olsen here. It's either Olsen or McCaffrey.
Right.
Recently,
Or
so-
him.
Yeah,
as
exactly.
a third option.
Exactly.
It's behind door number 1,
Right.
2, or 3. Sorry, Funchess, you're behind door number 4, and we've just bricked it up. You're not going to
Yeah.
play today. Speaking of Olsen, the ugliness one for me is Greg Olsen. Seattle's middle of the road versus tight ends, 8.2 fantasy points. But like you said, Olsen seems to be the guy that he's looking for in the passing game.
Yeah.
He's looking for all the wide receivers, but Olsen's a consistent guy in that offense. So is Christian McCaffrey.
He's looking for him in the red zone, and that's what you want out of your tight end.
Right. So what we thought Devin Funchess, it was going to slide to him some red zone opportunities. It stayed with Greg Olsen and the run game. So
Perfect.
now this one's an interesting one. San Francisco at Tampa Bay, as I call it, the toilet bowl. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, not so much for San Francisco purposes, but Tampa Bay. That is literally a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
It's just a dumpster fire. That's pretty much the best way I could put it. So, the good in this one, Matt Breida. Tampa Bay is 28th against running backs, one of the worst. Up there with the Bengals. Not as bad, but they're pretty close, and they're giving up 23.4 fantasy points. Matt Breida seems to be, even whether he's 100% healthy or not, they seem to feed him the ball.
Yeah.
They got nobody else, basically, outside of that Kyle Juszczyk or whatever, the fullback / tight end hybrid guy. But
I had
anyways,
his name on the tip of my tongue.
I'm just telling you, Matt Breida is the guy that you want in this game, specifically for the running backs. Speaking of which, running backs, bad. Peyton Barber,
Yeah.
averaging single-digit fantasy points against better competition, but top 15 against the run. And 49ers are 16th,
Well, let's just put in parentheses because of Winston.
pretty much. I went back and he only had one good game against the defense this year with Winston at the quarterback, but that defense was like 26th or 27th out of 32. So it was a bad matchup. It was a good matchup for the running back. So, but they're giving up 18 fantasy points to the running back position, and they seem to be trickling in Peyton Barber and anybody else to try to get something going. So ugly in this one, Cameron Brate. Now, no OJ Howard, and Winston being in the game now as a quarterback, whether that's for the half or for a quarter or for a series, whatever,
That is
or
true.
whatever Dirk Cutter decides to do for the game. But he is Winston's BFF.
Yeah.
Prior to OJ Howard coming in, before they drafted him, Cameron Brate was Winston's go-to guy, even with Mike Evans there.
Yep.
49ers are 11th against tight ends, so it's not a great matchup. That's why I put him in the ugly. They're giving up 7.5 fantasy points to the tight end. But I just think there's too much upside not to play Cameron Brate this week, and specifically if you were a Jimmy Graham owner, and now you're looking at that or Cameron Brate, I think Cameron Brate's definitely an upside.
Yeah.
So, plus if you're Travis Kelce owner, this is a week.
Yeah.
This is a week that you fire up Cameron Brate and be like, you know what, roll the dice. Let's see how the dice lay at the end.
I still think Cameron Brate has a chance to be a top 10 tight end the rest of the season. So.
Right. So, and then my final game in this one, Arizona at the Chargers, or LA Chargers. The good in this one, Ricky Seals-Jones, possible check down option.
Yeah.
And the Chargers are 19th versus tight end, so they're giving up 8.5 fantasy points. But I just think that with this pass rush getting healthy and getting back, I think that Rosen's going to have to throw a lot of dump down, check down throws to keep this defense honest. I just don't think he's going to have the time to really throw the ball down the field, unfortunately.
The offense has at least been better under
Leftwich being there.
Yes, Leftwich. Thank you.
So, but bad in this one, this is why I'm putting Ricky Seals as the good. Arizona wide receivers. Chargers are 8th against wide receivers. They're only giving up 21 fantasy points total. You got Fitzgerald, Kirk is in there factoring it. and you don't know which one's going to have the good game. That's the problem. You don't know which one's going to be the one that gets you the 12 to 13 fantasy points, the other one that gets you 6 or whatever.
Right.
I just think that I'd steer clear of the Arizona wide receivers. There's plenty of other options out there that you could play and feel more comfortable matchup-wise. Ugly. I really had to look for this one. David Johnson. Now, he is coming off of a 19-point fantasy day against the Giants, who are bad, mind you. But the 49ers are literally the middle of the road. 15th against running back, giving up 18.6. But since Byron Leftwich has come in, he has figured out a way to use David Johnson. It's crazy to me to think all it took was an offensive coordinator swap out.
Yeah.
And the guy knows who the best player on that team is. Nothing against disrespect to Larry Fitzgerald. He is still a good wide receiver. But David Johnson is your moneymaker. He is who's going to win you the game.
The best part about this now is where you drafted him, this is the kind of numbers you want.
Right.
He's still putting up near 20 points and didn't score a touchdown.
Right.
That's huge. That's a ton of volume.
Right. It's basically like David Johnson that we've seen in the past when he was healthy. He might not get you a touchdown, but he's still getting you a upper double-digit fantasy points, even without a touchdown. So it's just the option. I was going to say the volume is there.
Right. Not every running back is going to have the volume like Gurley has and the touchdowns. It's just not going to be there. So you at least want the guy that's going to catch the ball in the backfield and get the bulk of the carries.
Right. Most definitely. That's why I really had to look, and I was like, you know what? I know it might be bad to put David Johnson as the ugly, but I just think that he's had a bad stretch of games, and then now he's kind of ticking back up into what the David Johnson that you'd probably drafted him as. So
I think it's a perfect ugly. I think he'll be under 20, but he's going to be north of 15.
Oh yeah, so he's definitely a viable option this week. But now Blackburn not being here, we're going to split the Sunday, the later the Sunday games as well as the Sunday and the Monday night game. So I've got the late 4 o'clock, the 4:25 game, Eastern Standards. Steelers at Broncos. Blackburn's got the good in this one. Vance McDonald, 13 points per game over the last 2 games. It's a high-powered offense, and Denver is 23rd against tight ends. So a really good matchup against Denver, and I just think that Denver's defense is, and I kind of see where he's going with this. Denver's defense is going to play tough against the wide receivers,
right?
Specifically Antonio Brown. So
I think the Steelers are out to make a point. I think last week when they snuck by Jacksonville.
Right.
This could get ugly for Denver.
Right. So, and then the bad in this one, he's got Philip Lindsay. He says, please play him. Just has a really not favorable matchup.
Right.
Pittsburgh is 7th against running backs. It's more of like a pump your brakes, kind of expect a lesser what you've seen over the last couple weeks or through the season pretty much for Philip Lindsay. I mean, he might not get you the 20 some fantasy points that you're hoping for. He might get you like 10 or 11 and just call it a win for the week.
I mean, that's what Philip Lindsay is, though.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So, I mean, I just think this is the opportunity that you're looking for.
Right.
It stinks for Philip Lindsay, but obviously you're still going to play him because he's probably your RB2 more than likely, or RB1 depending on how your team is. So, and the ugly in this one, wide receiver Courtland Sutton, averaging 10 fantasy points per game. Will probably the Denver defense or offense is probably going to have to throw the ball to stay close points wise. In Pittsburgh's middle of the road, 14th against wide receivers. I think Emmanuel Sanders has a bad day. Personally, to me, I know he didn't put this in his notes, but I think this is a bad game for Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah.
Or a trap game, if you want to call it that, where you're like, oh, well, it's Emmanuel Sanders. He's going to see enough volume. However, he might see like 4 or 5 receptions, but he only might have like 30 yards, and you're sitting at like 9 fantasy points for your wide receiver 1 or 2.
Right.
Not a good setup.
Like I said, Steelers, I think, are out to make a point this game. The whole offense could struggle for Denver.
Right. So, and then the other game that I'm going to do is the Dolphins at the Colts. The good in this one, Marlon Mack, averaging 17 fantasy points per game this season. Miami is 29th against the running back position.
Return of the Mac.
Right.
Let him eat.
Right. Horrible matchup. I mean, it's a good matchup for Marlon Mack, but horrible for Miami's defense.
Right.
And the Colts offense has been moving. I mean, they're actually looking pretty good, even though Andrew Luck's still not throwing a ton of the deep passes that you would like to see. He's getting it done without it. So,
right.
No, did you have something?
Well, no, I'm reading now. I was going to say T.Y. Hilton came back to life.
He did. He showed back
up.
Big
way.
The bad in this one, wide receiver Kenny Stills. Parker's banged up. Grant's is on IR. He'll see an increased amount of snaps and opportunities, but he just probably won't produce. Just the matchup is bad. It's 10th against wide receivers Indianapolis is. So
Sounds like Tannehill's going to play this week, so I wonder what we're really going to get out of him.
I know. I mean, I would temper my expectations.
Right.
First game back for Tannehill, and it's a bad matchup.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Ugly. Wide receiver T.Y. Hilton averaging 25 points per game over the last 2 games specifically. But yeah, Luck ended up finding Hilton a lot last week. 9 catches, 155 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So 30 fantasy points for a PPR.
He found Hilton, and then Ebron did his magic trick where he disappeared.
Right. He's gone. 0.
Yeah,
0
0
fantasy points. Who gets 0 fantasy points and is one of the main options
Listen,
in an
I
offense?
was so excited when I got to pick him up too. I'm like,
Right.
what happened here? And then luckily I didn't play him.
Right.
I mean, Burton didn't do much better at one point.
Well, a point's a point, I guess.
Yeah, I guess, but still.
But yeah, Miami's 9th against wide receivers, so it's not the most favorable matchup. But like Blackburn pointed out, over the last 2 games, 25 points per game average, not bad. So, all right, you got the Sunday and the Monday night games.
Yeah.
What is that?
Listen, I know the 2 teams aren't exactly firing on all cylinders right now, but I love when the Packers play the Vikings. So this is going to be a good game. And then his good, he has been a bright spot, and he's going to win some people fantasy football championship, is Aaron Jones. He's averaging 25 fantasy points per game in the last 2. Green Bay is just running the ball now.
Yeah.
Minnesota is 4th against running backs, but I still see this to be a great play for Aaron Jones.
Yeah, and he's Rodgers' guy.
Yeah.
Rodgers has put his stamp of approval out there and said, he's my guy, he's my running back. We got to get him the ball more.
What I'm seeing now is not just in the running game, but the way they use him in the passing game. They're just totally unloading him. It's like I don't know where this was at the beginning of the year. I feel like if they were doing this from the rip,
Yeah.
would have been good to go.
Well, that's why Mike McCarthy's probably not going to be the head coach in Green Bay next year because of this continued baffled decision.
They're saying now Super Bowl or he's out. I can't believe that. But you've been there that long. I get what you're
spoiler
saying.
alert, if you would like to look at the offseason notes, Mike McCarthy is not the head coach for the Green Bay Packers if that's what it is. If it's Super Bowl or bust.
Yeah.
Sorry, bud.
Yeah. So, unfortunately.
Just ride it out. Ride out being a head coach for the next couple of weeks because they'll be over here soon.
Yep. All right, the bad in this one is Kyle Rudolph.
Yeah.
He's averaging only 4 points over the last 2 weeks, and in these notes, it's hot garbage in all capital letters.
It's true though.
Dude,
it's
that's
so
great.
true.
That is great, Blackburn.
That's bad. It is true though.
It just did not pan off. You know what? The whole offense in Minnesota did not go the way I thought it was going to go.
No, I mean Dilla Filippo or whatever his name is coming in, being a tight end kind of guru guy.
Yep.
Really thought he was going to get Kyle Rudolph going. I mean, Kyle Rudolph has had 2 games out of the whole year that's been even fantasy relevance. Outside of that, nothing. And I mean, Kirk Cousins. What I can't figure out is Kirk Cousins has 2 wide receivers in the top 12.
Yeah.
And he isn't even in the top 12 for quarterbacks right now.
No.
Welcome back to Washington.
No joke.
It's the opposite, though. He was a top 10 quarterback. However, his wide receivers weren't in the top 20.
Yeah.
Now, he's got 2 wide receivers in that wide receiver 1 talk. However, he's not a quarterback 1.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on with Dalvin Cook, but actually the offense looked better with Latavius Murray in the backfield.
I hate to say it, but it really does. I mean, I feel like Latavius Murray is at least the thumper in there, and he kind of puts a fear when he's coming through the hole.
Yeah.
But
I almost feel like now they've got these design plays to make sure guys get the ball, and that's what's hurting them.
Right. And I just think the offensive line is not healthy either. That's a big issue. And you saw that last week where Cousins was really getting tons of pressure in his face. I mean, every time he snapped the ball, he had 1 or 2 seconds to make a decision to throw that ball.
Right.
But
And then his ugly in this is MVS, Marquez Valdez-Scantling.
yeah.
He says you understand he's the number 2 wide receiver in Green Bay, but Green Bay is running the ball. I still think if you want a number 2 wide receiver, just like we say in out in New Orleans with Drew Brees, I'm going to want Aaron Rodgers number 2. MVS is still going to be a good play.
Yeah, I mean, he just didn't see any volume last week.
Right.
I don't know if it was the way the coverage was or the way that Rodgers was looking at opportunities, and he just liked the routes that St. Equanimus Brown was running.
Right.
the way he was open more or what, I don't know. But, I mean, he really didn't throw a whole lot even. It wasn't like that he threw a ton to MVS and he dropped the ball a bunch or just looked bad out there. He really didn't. I think he only had like three targets and 1 reception. So, I mean, for like 8 yards maybe. I think he was like 1.8 for the day.
I think you're right.
I'm just saying, I'm sorry that if you played him, he pretty much ruined he might have ruined one of your fantasy leagues for the week. But when you're only getting 3 targets, I mean, what do you expect?
Right.
Unless one of your targets is like for a 50-yard touchdown, that's not. And no one's going to be fantasy relevant in that option.
Right. I mean, what do you want? Do you want when we're looking at, do you want to play MVS, the number 2 wide receiver in Green Bay, or do you want to play like a Buffalo wide receiver or a Jacksonville
like
wide
a Zay
receiver?
Jones or Moncrief or somebody?
So who do you playing? I'd still play MVS. So.
Right. You know that offense is going to be moving.
Yeah. It's just unfortunate last week that he crapped the bed.
Yeah, that's the best way of putting it.
Yeah. And then moving on to the Monday Nighter. Can't
Yeah.
believe this is what the Monday Nighter is, but it's Titans at Texans.
How did this game make it through? Did like any of these other games not like get flexed into it?
Well, I mean, it's going to be polar opposites. We just saw David and Goliath, or whatever you want to call it, play last Monday.
I mean, it was like juggernauts playing against each other.
105 points, and then we got here. They might score a total of 13.
Right.
But anyways, his good in this is if Mariota doesn't play, it's the Houston's defense.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, they're averaging
Was
12.
it Gabbard or whatever's their
Right.
backup?
Yeah, Blaine. Oh, my God, he's terrible, too.
He is.
Hot garbage. We need that in capital letters.
Right.
He says Houston's defense is averaging 12 points over the last 5 games. Everyone healthy. Tennessee is the 21st defense.
No, I think he's 21st. I'm not sure. I didn't read that correctly.
Anyways, he's saying if Mariota's not in, you're going to want to play Houston's D.
Yeah, not good.
And then his bad in this is Mariota. So if what he's saying is if Mariota does play, he plays through the injury. He's saying that he's not going to be a viable option this
Right,
week.
and play Houston's defense
Right,
for sure.
exactly. So, I was kind of been joking all shit too. I would not play Mariota at this point.
No, please don't do that to yourself.
Right. And his ugly is Kiki Kuti.
Yes.
I just like saying Kiki.
You love me. Yeah.
He's second on the team in receptions. He's having 12.5 points per game. With Demaryius Thomas seems to not be a factor right now, at least in that Houston Texans offense.
He's taking coverage away. That's about it.
Well, then Kiki Kuti is going to see the targets.
I'm hoping he kind of fills into the Will Fuller previous role.
Yeah.
The deep threat, the guy that kind of has that big play opportunity and can catch you 3 or 4 receptions for like 60 yards and a random like 30-yard touchdown.
Well, I thought that's what they were going to do. I thought DT would just be the
possession guy.
Yeah, almost the check down guy. I hate saying it, but
Right. But Tennessee's 29th against a wide receiver, so it's not a bad matchup at all.
No.
And it's a Monday night guy, so if you're looking for some sort of like last minute kind of scrounging around trying to pick up somebody off of waivers, just saying Kiki Kuti could be that guy that you play on Monday night and you walk out of there with 15 fantasy points potentially from him.
All right, $1 million question. You playing Lewis or Henry? You have to play one.
I looked at their snaps. They're actually pretty much even snap count wise, but over the last couple weeks, Derrick Henry's getting more of the running game. I mean, he's getting more carries. It's increasing every week.
So you're leaning.
If I had to play one and you're like twisting my arm to say, hey, you got to get one of these guys in your lineup,
I'm going Monday night. You got an injury.
It's Derrick Henry. I hate to say it. I just think he's a bruiser back. He's not gonna. I just think Houston's defense is good enough that they're gonna need somebody to like. Tennessee's gonna need somebody to actually like put a hurt on this defensive front. Dion Lewis is not gonna be able to do that, catching scat back passes and stuff like that, because Houston's defense is pretty fast sideline to sideline, and I think that whether Mariota does or doesn't play, whether it's the injured Mariota or Blaine Gabbert, I think either one of them is going to need to hand the ball off to Sasquatch and maybe score a touchdown for him.
I agree.
Otherwise, it's a bad day.
I just wanted to hear you say Derrick Henry. I thought that's where you'd go. So
yeah, well, you know what?
Well, he might not even show up. I mean, he might still have the Thanksgiving hangover.
Eating with Sasquatch. So, oh well. Anyways, so that's all the games for this week. Hopefully these guys, you'll listen to the show and you set your lineup accordingly for this week. Yeah, I really feel like the Thanksgiving games are like the more interesting
Yeah.
games. Unfortunately, as that is, but
It's just the more polarizing teams.
right. So, all right. We want to say thanks again for you guys tuning in to today's show, whether it's on the podcast or on the YouTube channel. Please check out the site, thehateful8ff.com. You can find our in-season weekly articles. You can also check out the online store on the tab as well. Follow our personal accounts at jpickle.th8ff, at jblackburn.th8ff, and at ftrimth8ff. Don't forget to join the average donation and support the show via the Patreon tab on the site. You can get your in-season weekly help specifically for your whatever leagues, and it's playoff time, so it might be useful to you at this point. So, anything else?
Nope. Thanks for listening, and good luck this week.
Yeah, hopefully you guys bring home a win for yourself and continue to help yourself get closer to that playoff clinching. So, thanks again, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
One more time. There ain't no one like these three. You know you just heard Pickle, Blackburn, and Trimboli. Give the goods talking about nothing but fantasy football. Yeah, it's your year to dominate and to wear that ring. Prepare for the draft and dial in on your craft. Quarterback, the first round is a good choice, you ask? This guy's got first round pick, a favorite? Not so fast. He failed to tune into Hateful Eight. He's